Regular session at 6:30. Call to order, please.
Mayor Hurtado. Absent. Mayor Pro Tem Pacheco.
Here.
Councilman Escobar.
Here.
Councilman Hodge.
Here.
Councilman Real.
Here.
Attendance noted.
Pledge of Allegiance. Could Mr. Haji lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
My pleasure. Please stand. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Remain standing, please, for invocation. First Christ Community Church. Reverend.
Well, good evening, Lord bless you all. Father in heaven, first of all, God, we do approach you as Father, as our Lord Jesus instructed us on how to pray, God. We do approach you as a young child would approach his father. God, we know, God, that you're a God that is mindful of us, Lord, and God, tonight we want to be mindful of you. God, we invite your presence here tonight. God, your word tells us that you are pleased, God, when we pray for all men. And God, we pray for those in authority in this city, Lord God, from those in government, the police department, those in the school district, Lord God, all those who are in authority, God, we want to pray for them tonight. God, that you would give them wisdom from above, Lord. And God, we also want to pray for those that they govern, Lord God, the citizens of this city. God, may they also rise and unite, Lord God, and give of their gifts and their talents, God, even their resources, God, to better this city. And God, that you would be glorified and that your people would be blessed, God. And we ask these things tonight in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Closed session announcements.
City Council met in closed session on 2 items described on tonight's agenda. We received direction, but no reportable actions were taken. Thank you.
Move to approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Announcements. These proceedings may be viewed on the City of Calexico website at www.calexico.ca.gov the Friday following the session. We have a presentation by Mr. Daniel Hernandez, Caltrans resident engineer, Project 98. Mr. Hernandez.
Hello, my name is Daniel Hernandez, 2464 Zuniga Court, Calexico. I have a presentation, PowerPoint presentation. May I do it in front of the table?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you have someone to do the slides while you speak on the microphone? Or do you need a microphone down there? Okay. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, wireless microphone now. Nice. Thank you.
Well, this presentation is for the construction of a portion of a state route on 98 from Edie Avenue to Ollie Avenue. So as you can see there, this project is just part of a major corridor plan. As you can see there, we have phase 1A, phase 1B, 1C, and phase number 2. I don't know if you can actually see it, but this project is phase 1B, which is just from Main's school to the post office. Next, please. And this is just a more detail. And as you can see, this is mains, this is the post office. And this particular phase was, or is being built in 4 stages. And stage 1 and 2 are basically complete. Stage 3 is the one that is by Cesar Chavez. And stage 4 is going to be the one in front of the post office. Stage 3 is currently under construction and is scheduled to be completed on September 27, which is next Wednesday, on which we will move just in front of the post office. Therefore, Cesar Chavez will be open. Now, the benefits of this project is we will have a brand new pavement structure, so it's going to increase the service life. It will give you a smooth ride as well. It's going to be wider as well. It's a road widening, actually. The portion that is on the east of Cesar Chavez is going to have 6 lanes, including a light signal or control intersection at Cesar Chavez. As everybody was aware, I'm a resident of Calexico, just trying to make a left turn into Cesar Chavez or from Cesar Chavez into Route 98. It was a hardship. But now we will have a light signal and designated left turn lanes from 98 into Route 98. Now, I will go slightly faster. I will provide some more details, and I don't want to bother you with so many specifics, but feel free to stop and ask any question. As I said, the stage 1 and 2 are pretty much completed. Stage 3, it's scheduled for September 27, and stage 4 is scheduled to be completed by January 15, when Route 98 it will be fully open. However, we may be able to open in December. We made some changes to the contract, and we have worked with the contractor as well, and we have some agreement with the post office and the Estradas, which is the adjacent property to the post office. We will provide a lateral access to the post office so they don't have to use Route 98. That will allow us to make stage 4 in front of them in one single shot instead of 2 sub-stages. So that we will gain 2 or 3 weeks just by doing that. So at this point, we're supposed to open 98 by mid-January, but we may be able to do it in December, hopefully before Christmas. And it's too many details to see everything at a glance, but you can see that this is Cesar Chavez, and you will have, at certain point, you will have 6 lanes, 2 of them just to come from westbound into Cesar Chavez, just to go to the new port of entry for future opening. So this is the portion from Santo Tomas to the post office. They will have the major widening. And now in future projects, Route 98 will continue widening, but at this moment for this project, from here to December, this is the way that it's going to look. Now, just this one, I will go real fast just to show you the before and after. And of course, considering that this is a work in progress. If any of you have been driving on by Erie, by Santo Tomas, you will see that the pavement is still rough. We will wait until the end just to make the final lift, the cap lift. And just by placing the pavement is when you actually see the difference. Right now, it doesn't look like much of an improvement, but all the drainage and all the utilities have been relocated. But by December, you will start seeing a much difference. So you can see this area we didn't have sidewalks. Now we have curb and gutter sidewalks, and we have been working with the Union Pacific Railroad as well. They made some improvements as well. Some of the areas. This area is pretty much ready just for the pavement, to receive payment next Monday, Tuesday. But it started just getting shape. Sidewalks is going to be a much better improvement for pedestrians as well. And it's just starting getting shape, that's all. You will see as well some what we call ADA ramps, Americans with Disability Act ramps. So, and then this project also called for some texture in the median, on the raised medians as well. So just try to picture the finished product, which you will be able to see it partially next week and then totally in December. Some of the challenges that we have had is that is within the city, and we have found so many utilities in there. Some of them we were expecting them, some others we didn't. But it has been intense cooperation with the city of Calexico. Alan Lopez, he is the lead inspector on this project, and he's been in direct contact with Public Works, and we've been able to resolve pretty much all the issues, same day, most of them. So for that, thank you very much. It's been a great cooperation. Same thing with the Union Pacific. And at the end, we will have enhanced detours as well. We have a minor issue with the county. We have to reroute some of the trucks' detours, but that issue was already resolved as well. We were able to overlap some of the stages, so that's why we gained some time. And just by doing non-conflictive work on stages 2 and 3 and 3 and 4, that will allow us to open in December, if everything goes fine. And starting on next Wednesday, which is September 27, you will see this detour. This is the area that is going to be between the railroad tracks and the post office. Mm-hmm. And this is going to be the last stage of this project, starting next week. So therefore, Cesar Chavez will be open, and the detour will be through Grant. FYI, I'm open for any meeting, so we can discuss that intersection on Cesar Chavez and Grant, because I can see that there's some queue in traffic in there. I'm open. I have my contract open, so we can discuss any potential solutions if the cities allow us to implement any traffic control devices in there, just to improve mobility in that intersection. Could you just go back?
I have a question.
And I'm talking about this intersection, which is Grant and Cesar Chavez. It's outside my project, but I may be able to work with you to implement any changes if the city needs to implement something. Because now with Cesar Chavez open, more traffic is going to be taking that detour, and more conflicts will increase. Conflicts will increase in here because Grant doesn't have a stop sign and Cesar Chavez does. So I'm open to discuss any potential solution if the city is interested.
Mr. Villa, do we need to get our people and get our heads together, or is this a good route?
I think that we probably need to get together with our city engineer and review that traffic route. One question I have, Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Sure.
There's a couple of businesses on Highway 98 that are going to be impacted by that. Can you put that up, please? So there's a couple of used auto dealerships that are going to be impacted by that. Are you informing them about this, or is there any way we can avoid that so that these people can continue to be doing business?
Oh, okay. He didn't. That's not my question.
Excuse me. They were already notified before the project and during the design phase as well, and they were compensated for the right-of-way access that they either the portion of their property that we acquire, and for the loss of access into 98. And during construction, I'm the resident engineer, so I'm in charge of the construction. So we notified them as well. And then Caltrans Public Information Office has been releasing news release for every stage. So they were aware of this. But if there's anything that I could do during construction, I'm open. I'm open for suggestion. However, we have to consider that this is a full closure. So there's not much room for changing detours. We can add signs, we can add, I mean, I'm open for any alternatives or any potential solutions, but just consider that this project in particular is being a full closure in 4 different stages. So we're just moving to the east. And the next step is another full closure from the railroad to the post office.
I have a couple questions, Mayor, may I?
Yeah,
You mentioned compensation.
yes.
When you mention compensation, typically it's for a right-of-way to purchase real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Was there any additional compensation for lost revenues?
Yes, that's what I was going to ask.
And first, I can find out more information about it, and I can provide that one to you. But I received information from one of the property owners only, that I was involved with one claim during construction, because I was not involved before.
Well, but this would be compensation during the construction period for lost revenue streams.
Not for revenues. It was for losing access to 98.
So there's a compensation for losing access to Highway 98?
In one of the properties that I'm aware of.
And that's based on existing revenues?
No. It's nothing related to revenues.
That's not right.
If I can respond to that question later on, allow me just to gather more information.
If it's important, because if you're compensating for lost revenues, it's understandable. For a right-of-way, it needs to be based on something, and it should be based on loss of revenues. So if you could clarify that for us, it'd be great.
Sure. So you're specifically looking for the loss of revenue?
I know there was compensation when you purchase real estate for a right-of-way. Obviously, there's an exchange of funds. My question directly is, because of this project, there is a lack of accessibility to the properties.
Loss of
Were
revenue.
these business owners compensated based on lack of revenue?
Well,
Or lost revenue?
And since I don't have that information at this moment, I will go back to you.
Okay, that's fine. I have 2 more questions. Is that okay?
2 more.
Go ahead.
Aesthetics. I mean, Calexico's, I love Calexico, but it's not the most beautiful city in the world. Every time we do a project, we finish the project, yet las plantitas, the desert look, if we want to save on the water, are we doing anything from an aesthetic standpoint? I realize there's medians running through Highway 98. So are we doing anything to beautify our city?
The only portion that has landscaping is the raised median at this moment. It is something similar that is on the portion that is on 98 by the high school, for instance. But no.
No, but that's not the project. This is a subject project with a subject project, phases A, 1A, 1B, 1C, and 2. Are we doing anything aesthetically specifically for this project?
We have the raised median has what we call exposed aggregate finish, and it's colored as well.
Like a stamped concrete, is that what it is?
It is a process that you have, you pour the concrete, and has color, and then you place a retardant on the surface, and then you remove the surface. So therefore, you will have some type of texture.
And again, exactly, you just mentioned it's what's exactly in front of, exactly north on Highway 98, Birch Street of Calexico High School. But that's not aesthetics. There's no palm trees, there's no rocks, there's nothing aesthetic to make it more attractive. So the plans are not to do anything other than the stamped concrete, correct?
Correct. At this point, this contract does not include any, planting trees.
Armando, do you have any flexibility in doing something to make it a more attractive? This is going to be the corridor entering as you're coming east on Highway 98. It's also going to be the corridor as you come in north through Mexico. Is there anything we can do aesthetically to make it more attractive?
Well, that's a loaded question. I think there's a lot of things you can do. You can do landscaping, but that becomes more expensive. It becomes...
It can be reduced. We can limit the water usage. It can be a desert landscape. There's multiple service clubs. There's 24 churches. Mr. Pastor Zazueta, ya se me fue. He did a wonderful project at Main School, if I remember correctly. So I think we can get service clubs and churches to assist and adopt a road. I'm just thinking, we want to make it more attractive. This is going to be the jewel coming into Calexico. We want to think about that. It may not be for this session of our city council meeting, but we do want to make it more attractive. It's a big project for Calexico.
If I may, Council, and if you would allow me, Mark Baza, Imperial County Transportation Commission. We've been working with Caltrans as well as your city regarding Cesar Chavez in 98. I think there's an opportunity to consider the possibility. The city would need to make a commitment to the maintenance in the future. That's something that Caltrans has to deal with all of their projects. And just as examples, some of the landscape work that they've been doing on I-8 in the city of El Centro. El Centro has made the commitment to maintain that in the future. And they've even paid for some of those landscape improvements. So those are the constraints that Caltrans has is just the funding that they had to carry out the project. So if we had an opportunity to address that median, I think there maybe it is an opportunity to talk about it and see what's possible for this project or even some of the subsequent sections of 98 as we move forward.
I'm next.
Mark, and I appreciate your comments, Mark. I think the sooner we discuss something and the sooner we come up with some solutions, I know the city's strapped for cash, but again, it's a lot easier to do something before you pour concrete on a medium than afterwards. And I would hate to see what we did in north of Calexico High School to happen north of Main School and that corridor as well. I think we need to think aesthetically a little bit and make our city more attractive.
Yes.
And if it's a desert landscape, which is very, very low maintenance, minimal water usage, why wouldn't we want to do that?
We don't have anything in the budget for that right now, I know, Mr. Villa. So I don't know if aesthetically it would be nice to see something, but I know the budget, we don't have any money assigned to that area.
There's a gentleman in Calexico by the name of Javier Gonzalez who loves to plant trees. Maybe he can plant.
Some of the things that I...
Where's he at when you need him?
Mr. Pacheco, I still have two concerns. Mayor.
I'm sure he's watching at
Mayor
home.
Pro Tem.
Come, we need some trees.
Mr. Villa?
Yes, some of the things I worry about, that there's a balance between the aesthetic issue that you raised, it's a very valid one, but also the maintenance aspect of it, and then the liability of having a worker in the median, potential for strikes and stuff like that. So there's a huge liability that we need to be conscious about. It's not just the maintenance. And then, when you don't maintain something in the median and it becomes a problem for line of sight, another liability. So there's a trade-off. And I think we can continue to work on, maybe we can find an alternative stem concrete, or some kind of an aesthetic paving that could be more or better.
Mr. Hodge says, what did you say? Statues of ex-council members, maybe?
That might be a good idea, but no. Two concerns. I fully support my colleague, Councilman Escobar. That's the problem with this city. I mean, sense of jealousy sometimes going in El Centro, and dogwood and on the banks of the freeway, the beautiful desert landscape. I mean, I believe that beautification, aesthetics is extremely important. It brings in other businesses, it brings in new residents. So I think it should be something that somewhat of a priority. If other cities can make that happen, we can make that happen. I know we're tight on the budget, but there are ways that Escobar just mentioned. The other is, city manager, yes, closing up 98 in different phases is has an external economic impact. Is there any mechanism that you are aware of or any program that might mitigate those loss of revenues for businesses?
Councilman, that is something that Mr. Hernandez is going to be checking on in more detail, but I believe there are claim forms that the the businesses could submit to Caltrans. I'm sure it would be some kind of quantification about what those lost revenues are, but that's my general knowledge, but I think Mr. Hernandez will gather that information, and I believe there is a process for the business owner to submit some forms to Caltrans.
Thank you.
Mayor, can I say something?
Yes.
So, just kind of backing up both fellow council members as far as aesthetics goes, I definitely believe that we do need some aesthetics. The city obviously is strapped for cash, as we all know, and but this is where the possible, the private sector, maybe we can start looking for people that maybe want to, help the city out in this as far as the aesthetics goes. I'm sure that there's a few construction companies that are working there that have some pretty good profits from building all this, and maybe even they can help out a little bit. I'm sure. I don't know how we go about it, but I definitely do agree with Mr. Hodge as far as the dogwood. They did really nice with the the lights, and they didn't leave aesthetics out of it, and hopefully we don't do the same thing here in Calexico. As far as the wages and as far as businesses there, I mean, I don't know exactly how that works, but I know if I had a business right there at that moment and this was happening, I'd actually be happy because business should improve in the future versus, it's some growing pains, but guess what? If you had 100 cars going by there an hour, it's probably going to double now, so business should double or get better. We should hope. But one of the things I wanted to bring up was, and I've been bringing it up even before I was on council, and I'm glad that as the chief engineer there, you live in Calexico. So my question is, December comes around and it's open. As you know, I've asked this question before. That the line to go out to Mexicali goes all the way to the cemetery sometimes. What are we doing with all these people? Where is it going? I've been asking that question for years, and nobody's been able to tell me. Are we prepared to mitigate that by sending people down 2nd Street, or as you know, Calexico doesn't have many arteries that go east and west. 2nd Street, Grant, 98, and Cole. How's that going to work out? I know maybe it's not a question for at this time, but it's something to think about. Right now, specifically, I've gotten many calls from people with what's happening in 98 right now. Even in the morning with the school traffic, it's and I just tell everybody, look, it's growing pains. At the end of the day, it's going to be better. It's going to get better, and I think they understand that. That's why we probably don't have a full council chamber here. But, everyone's screaming about this, but for now, everyone is feeling the pain a little bit, and just hopefully you guys understand that, we do get these calls and people are complaining about it, but at the end of the day, hopefully it's for the best. I believe it will be. So,
I have some good news to share regarding that particular point. We've just achieved a grant from Caltrans to look at to develop a good traffic management plan for the city and the management of traffic to and from the port of entry. You will have 2 new accesses from 111 Imperial and Cesar Chavez Boulevard. how do you manage that? You currently spend over $500,000 in traffic management enforcement. The study will look at opportunities can we avoid some of that expenditure? I think you can, I don't think you can avoid it as it relates to traffic as it comes to Second Street. That's a mess that needs to be regulated during the afternoon peak, as you all well know. And that will compound as you open up, say, the Cesar Chavez open. But the study will look at all of that. We'll look at all of the, the traffic flow in the PM and in the morning, and come up with some strategies that will help the city. Obviously, we were hopeful to come up with some technology, traffic signal improvements, et cetera, that changeable message signs that direct people better. That we're gonna charge the consultant and we're gonna work with the important people here in the city, the police department, the city staff, everyone who has a hand in dealing with the traffic issues in the city. So we went out of our way to find this money, and we have about $80,000 in consultant money and ICTC staff is committing, an in-kind match of our staff resources to manage it together with the Southern California Association of Governments. So it was a special grant. It was outside of some of the traditional grants, but Caltrans Sacramento came through for us for this money. It can't be used for any other. It's planning money.
Excellent.
And so we're trying to be proactive. We know, the LTA and ICTC board had helped you guys with some of your traffic control expenditures, but that's not sustainable. You all know that. And so can we do a better job of helping the city manage this traffic? And we do recognize that you're bearing the burden for the entire region. We understand that. And so we want to try to help as much as we can.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Any more questions for Mr. Hernandez?
Mr. Hernandez, if I understand, it's stage 4 will finish in December of this year. Stage 4 of 1B, correct?
Yes, it is scheduled to be completed by January, but we are trying to finish in December.
And my question is on 1A, 1C, and 2. 1, do we have dates, and even before dates, do we have funding for 1A, 1C, and 2?
I think I can best. Can you go back to that slide with the
first one?
all 4, 1A, 1B, and C? So 1B is fully funded. And at this point, the only thing that we're cobbling what we think will be the end result of funding 1C. And that project, Caltrans is gearing up to begin the design work. Now, that's just the design work. And so the next thing is, right-of-way acquisitions is necessary, or utility relocations, and there are those issues that we have to deal with. So the construction for 1C is not anticipated to begin until 2019. Now, as it relates to the other segments, 1A
and 2?
and 2, they're not funded at this time. And I don't have a foreseeable.
But realistically, when we were talking about 1B funding and the framework and the plans and specs, et cetera, you probably did not have 1C funded. Is that correct?
That's true.
So it's one step after the other?
Yeah.
So realistically, we get lucky, we're looking at maybe 2023, más o menos.
Yeah, that would be an ideal world, yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Hernandez, I don't think we have any more questions. Thank you.
Just let me say, thank you to ICTC and Caltrans for really stepping up to the plate for us. So,
Mr. Horton?
They have access by the post office to get into the shopping center. How's that going to be? Well, Estrada is going to be closed. Ollie is going to be open all time. All the time? Yeah, Estrada is scheduled to be a cul-de-sac, actually. So at this point, it's currently closed. Yeah, northbound on
That will be
Ollie.
open. That won't be closed, yeah.
It will be open, and it will not, maybe one day it will be closed, but it's not scheduled to be closed at all.
Also, in reference to landscaping, we have allocated about $20,000 for landscaping, trees and everything, to compensate on the side there, and the whole shopping center.
Who's we?
Mr. Escobar talked about this today. We're doing something to make this stay better. At least our part.
Okay.
I'll ask the question. Do you think the property management would be willing to do the landscape and maintain it? Because that's what Caltrans would need. They either need the jurisdiction to do that, but aside from the installation, and I think that's probably the cheapest thing. The materials.
Maintenance is the hard part.
The maintenance on an annual basis, that's the most expensive. So,
Paying a person about $3,000 a month to do it.
and so if there was a commitment that could be put in writing to Caltrans. That is a way to do it.
Private entity working with the city.
Sounds good?
Sounds good, Mr.
Thank you,
Martin.
guys.
Okay.
Mr. Hernandez, no other questions? Thank you for showing up.
And I
Thank you.
appreciate this opportunity, and I just would like to emphasize the fact that we are trying to open to traffic as soon as possible, and I do appreciate the patience of most people that understand that every development comes with some inconvenience. But we are trying to, as much as we can, to open to traffic as soon as possible.
In the long run, the city will look better.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. David Kim, U.S. Border Patrol. Presentation.
The presentation's a little misleading. I don't actually have a presentation. I just kind of have some updates for you guys.
Okay.
My name's David Kim. I'm Assistant Chief Patrol Agent, El Centro Sector. So I've been involved in discussions with the County Board of Supervisors, Mr. Renison, and in the past, members of the council here. And actually former members of the council here, Carmen Durazo, had initially contacted me about obtaining some fencing that's coming down. And so let me back up just a little bit. As many of you have probably heard, the border wall that's currently up in Calexico from the west side of the port of entry construction area all the way out towards Rocha's truck lot. There's the landing
Grand
mat
Plaza.
style. Right, out towards Ground Plaza. It's a landing mat style fence, so that's kind of one of the older pieces of fence that we have here in Imperial Valley. So there's a lot of history and cooperation connected to that fence, and the U.S. Border Patrol recognizes that. And so as that fence is replaced with the new border wall that's coming in as replacement, we have been working with Carmen and also other interested parties, Calexico Art Council, to make sure that we get a panel from that fence to the city of Calexico, so you can do what it is you want to do with it, memorialize it. Again, it is a piece of history, so that's recognized, and we want to make sure we furnish that to you to, make sure that something like that, that piece of history doesn't get lost. And then just general updates on the border wall replacement. You may have heard the waiver. Secretary of Homeland Security has exercised a waiver to waive some of the environmental and NEPA regulations that go along with building the fence and border wall in that area. So what we'll be doing is replacing that older fence with a new hybrid style wall. I don't have all the exact aspects or ratios and I guess you would say the specs on the actual wall.
Does anybody have a rendering of how that wall will look?
I'm sure somebody does.
Okay.
I don't.
Okay.
Mr. Kim, the length of the wall that we're talking about, what is the length of the new wall to replace the existing wall right now?
Exactly. It's a one-for-one replacement, essentially. There's no additional, I guess, mileage or footage that's being installed in the Imperial Valley or anywhere in the 70 miles of border that El Centro sector is responsible for. It's essentially pulling out that old landing mat and replacing it with the new border wall material. So around November 7th or so, beginning part of November, is when the contract is supposed to be awarded. So no contract for construction has been awarded yet. There are some bids in. I don't really know who all the companies are that are involved in that. We do have weekly and sometimes multiple weekly calls on that issue, but as more information comes along, you know, of course, I'll pass it on to all interested parties. And then we're set to begin construction the beginning of fiscal year, well, actually calendar year 18. So we're looking at January, February-ish of actually putting the new border wall in place and pulling the old wall out.
Completed.
Some of you may have heard that may be contested now because there's a lawsuit that was filed today by the state attorney general. That's not my expertise in that area. Those will be, that issue will be dealt with between the federal lawyers and state lawyers, I'm sure.
But it could hold it up, right?
Yeah, it's a possibility that it could delay it, but it may not.
One of the things that a lot of people, and some news agencies have actually talked to me and maybe other council members as far as, you know, how the wall was going to impact us, and I was thinking, right now we have a fence. It's not really a wall, but the fence, you know, it's still see-through for the most part, right? So, you know, you can still get a feeling of, okay, the fence is there, but there's life on that other side, you know? And at the same time, for you Border Patrol that risk your life protecting that fence, there's also a way to see through it to see who's possibly trying to cause some harm to you guys on this side, or how many people are going to jump across, or whatever that be. Have they even said if that wall's going to be, I mean, because some people are saying it's going to be a concrete wall. I mean, I would hope that it's going to have some type of transparency for you guys to be safe as well, and not send that message to our Mexican counterparts on that side that, you know, you're not welcome. You know, I mean, there's, you know, I'm just thinking out loud here, but so, have you guys heard anything about that?
Yeah, what I can tell you on that, that I know for sure, is one of the things that we listed as a requirement for us is to be able to see through any wall material that's built. So what I can tell you that what's coming out, that landing mat, you can't see through it. It's solid metal. There's no pickets or whatever. So the new design, whatever that happens to be, it will be able to, it'll look more like a fence, I think, and less like what's actually there right now, which looks more like a wall.
Okay. That gives us a little glimpse, at least.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely be able to see south of the fence for our protection. We, you know, and just for everybody's edification, in that area from the port of entry all the way out to Ground Plaza, you know, that is one of our higher risk areas that agents are assaulted quite often in that area. That's where the majority of our assaults against agents take place in that area. So by installing the new border wall material there, we're going to actually be able to see that. And that whole area, we actually work really well with our Mexican counterparts. We have for those of you that don't know, a foreign operations branch that meets regularly on the south side with our counterparts there. So for example, when there's flare-ups of violence and/or we know like Grand Plaza is going to be having an event, say a concert or a beer festival, something that's going to draw a huge crowd, we work with our partners here in Calexico Police Department to supplement some of their forces there and assist wherever we can. And also, we're working with our counterparts on the Mexican side of the border to let them know that, you know, hey, there's an event here, and they increase their patrols accordingly on the south side of the border too, to ensure that everybody in the area, you know, has a good time and they're safe while they're doing it. I guess one last thing I would like to impart on everybody about the waiver is I know there's a lot of concern about, well, why are they waivering this? And so I just want to assure the citizens, residents of Calexico, that yes, even though a waiver's been executed, the Border Patrol is still committed to making sure that all the proper measures are followed while we're actually installing the new border fence. So even though the NEPA has been waived, anything that we would normally do under NEPA, we're still going to do. Essentially what the waiver does is speed up the timeline in which we can do it. But if it's required that we have environmental monitors out there, then that's what we're going to do to make sure that we're being good stewards of the environment, and also making sure that the citizens of Calexico, you know, are being treated fairly and the way they should be.
Well, thank you, because...
One last question.
No, I was speaking first.
As far as...
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, may I?
Mr. Hart, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm glad you said that, because for me, I think it can be a pain, but the environmental reviews are very important. So you're saying that even though there officially is not going to be one, you're going to take steps and procedures to enact as if there was one, or as the same level?
Absolutely. They're going to be the same as if we had to follow the actual NEPA regulations. Again, really, those that are familiar with the National Environmental Policy Act, it really is just a planning tool that sets timelines and conditions for moving past one phase of construction or implementation of the project to another. And so, again, nothing new from the last time. There was a waiver that went up the last time fencing on the border, especially in this area, went up. And everything that we would have normally been required to do under NEPA, we followed. We realize that's important, and we are here to uphold federal law, and that's part of federal law too. And so we're not trying to skirt any environmental or wildlife or anything like that type of laws.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, I am.
Okay. How many pieces of the existing fence right now are going to be saved? Just one piece?
Well, at this point, it's only been indicated that one panel would be needed.
Because I had heard that even Grand Plaza wanted to have a piece there, like as the history.
Sure, and speaking with Mr. Villa and also Carmen, I probably can get maybe a little bit more material. Because the panels I believe are 12 feet tall by about 8 feet wide.
Is there going to be like a set date so that people know if somebody's interested in, you know, a piece of the fence, that they maybe have till a certain date to ask for it or something like that?
Well, that
Deadline?
ship's actually kind of sailed already on the requesting additional. You know, we're looking at between 1 and maybe 3 panels that we can procure.
Okay.
But you're talking about if we get, you know, say 3 panels, it's probably about 24 feet or so of border fence.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Mayor.
Any more questions? Mr. Kim, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll continue to update as we get those updates, but if anybody has any questions in between those times, feel free to contact me. I think Mayor Hurtado has my contact information, and some of you probably have it as well. I know Mr. Renison has it, so feel free to contact me.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move on to public comments, but let me just read the disclaimer. This is the time for public to address the city council on any item not appearing on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city council. The mayor will recognize you, and when you come to the microphone, please state your name and place of residence for the record. While members of the public are encouraged to participate, it is unlawful to disturb or delay the council meeting with personal and slanderous remarks. If the item you wish to come in on is on the consent agenda, please comment now. Well, I'm sorry. If the item you wish to come in on is the consent items not included on the printed agenda. I blew it. If the item you wish to comment on is on public portion of the agenda, we will take your comment when we get to the item on the agenda. Please direct your questions to the comments of the city council. We have a couple of individuals. I have Bethany Garcia.
So, hi, my name is Bethany Garcia. I'm a resident of Heber, 23 East Main Street, Heber. I'm a senior at Southwest High School, and I'm here to present upon the homeless. So, my family and I have been helping the Brown Bag Coalition feed the homeless for about 3 years or so. We have made many friends, but one in particular was Gilbert Aguilar. We found him outside of fiestas. He wouldn't leave his home, even to come get food. He always thought that they were gonna rob it or we're just gonna destroy it. He always asked about my academics, my future goals, and my boyfriend problems, friend stuff. And when he found out that I wanted to be a doctor, he began to refer to me as La Doctora. He always told me he had visions of me making this world a better place because I made his world a better place. And Gilbert died of a heat stroke during this year in a parking lot, 3 days after the city council heard about the need for a homeless cooling center. So this is my personal memorial to my friend Gilbert. Do you know how a person dies of a heat stroke? To many, it's just a plain definition of your body getting too hot. Medically speaking, a heat stroke is when your body has begun to overheat as it reached a temperature of 104 degrees Fahrenheit or higher. In addition, the person becomes confused or has random mood swings as chemicals in the brain are unevenly released, beginning an uncontrollable response to the heat. With the brain losing control of certain responses, such as the central nervous system, the body becomes vulnerable to the heat. It causes our heart to work harder, therefore an accelerated heart and breathing rates. Yet, once our body has reached the point of fatal temperatures, your body makes the last attempt for survival. Your body will not release water or sweat as it's trying to maintain the vital organs to keep running as long as they can. And your body has basically run out of water. Your blood becomes thicker, so it feels like you're wearing a fur coat at 100 degrees or higher. And after that, your organs will begin to fail, and the blood will begin to clot. Your body temperature is slowly cooking you from the inside out. All organs will slowly begin to fail, leaving the body to reach temperatures at 106 or higher. Your eyes will begin to dry out, your eyeballs will have lost color and will look like raisins. Skins begin to crack and flake. At this point, death is no longer a fear rather than a wish. Ever complain of how hot it is and it's only 100 degrees high outside, and usually you're out there for about 10 minutes? I know I have. People most vulnerable to heat stroke are the elderly and the homeless. And I'm just here to remind you about the deaths of our homeless and that we need a cooling center. And even one death is one too many. Please don't make me come back here to tell you how someone freezes to death, because that's horrible. And I just would like to thank you for your time and to consider my upbringing. Thank you.
Thank you for the information.
Thank you.
Thank you. You have Ms. Padilla.
Yes, sir. Did you call?
Thank you.
Maribel Padilla, 1232 AC Nogales, for a couple of more months. I'm selling my house. I'm moving to El Centro. Yay! What?
Once a bulldog.
Always a bulldog. Always a bulldog.
Always a bulldog.
I thought you guys were gonna cheer. I'll be gone. But I'll be back.
I have a feeling you're not going anywhere.
I will be back. I wanted to talk to you. You all know I'm with Brown Bag Coalition, and we've talked about the heat and that, but I'm not sure if you guys know that there is a hepatitis A outbreak. I've been on the news about 3-4 times. I don't know if you guys watch me, okay? When I found out at the end of June that this was happening in San Diego, I started making kits. Well, I contacted the health department and asked them if they had anybody that had it, and they said no, that they had no reported cases. Well, because you don't have a reported case doesn't mean you don't have it. It's just not being reported. So they gave me a flyer, and we made kits. So the kits consist of the flyer that they gave me. We would put 2 little bottles of water. I was thirsty, I already drank it. We would put, for them to have the hand sanitizer, and then we gave them a bar of soap and a washcloth. And we told them, you have to wash your hands. This is happening. They liked it because, it's not that easy for them to just go anywhere and just wash their hands. So we also implemented wash stations. So most of our volunteers that feed will bring a wash station so they can wash their hands before they get their meals. Now, hepatitis A, it's not airborne. You don't get it that way. You get it by contact. And some people might have actually told me, I don't deal with the homeless, so I'm not gonna get it. Well, I got news for you. Everybody deals with the homeless. That homeless went to Jack in the Box and paid with the coin he had for his hamburger. That coin came back to you as change for your hamburger. So he touched it, the cashier touched it, you touched it. And then how many get in their car through the drive-thru and start eating the fries? And you didn't wash your hands. Guess what? Literally, you're eating shit. And you're going to get hepatitis A. I need to say it that way so it'll make you think. Now, San Diego had this back in November. They did nothing about it. So now they have a crisis. Well, now it's not only San Diego. Now it's gone to LA County. Yesterday, they already said they have a crisis. Santa Cruz has it. And guess what? Imperial County has a reported case. Now we have a reported case. That person came from San Diego, and it's in El Centro. But that doesn't mean they don't travel to Calexico, because some people here go over there, and then they come back, and then they travel everywhere. So heaven knows how many more are being infected. San Diego is now having to, wash their streets with, bleach. They're doing all this because it's gotten out of hand. You've got 16 deaths. You have 421 people infected. You have 292 who are hospitalized. 65% are infected homeless. 23% are associated with homeless. That's like us, that we go out there and we help them and stuff. And then you got 12% unrelated. That's anybody that comes in contact with them. So I'm here to tell you, we need to do something. Don't be San Diego, because like I said on the news, we are not San Diego, we're poor. The county's poor. So if you don't do something to stop it now, and it blows up like it has in San Diego, your ambulances are gonna be so busy picking up these people dying from the hepatitis, and who's gonna pay you the bill? So now you got that bill accrued. We have to do something. You have to look into providing like San Diego is doing now, which is a little too late. Do it now, be proactive like we were, and get those hand stations. Put them out there. You know they're at the Donut Avenue. You know where they're at. Put them out there so they can wash their hands. Maybe once a month, really go out there and do something with bleach. But do it now. Don't wait till then, because it's going to be too late, and we're going to be overwhelmed with this. So we are still doing the wash stations, and we're also wearing gloves when we feed, and we're getting vaccinated. Now, I have good insurance. I went to Costco. It didn't cost me a dime. They have it at Costco, or you can go to the health department. So I would say you have to tell your fire department, your police, everybody that, is out there to get vaccinated. As many people as you can. I'm vaccinating my family and everything. So my plea to you is for you to act now, not blow me off and don't listen to me because she's always up there saying stuff and whatever, because I don't want to come back in 6 months and now we have a big old thing, and I'm gonna come back and tell you, I told you so. And if we don't have money now, we're not gonna have the money then. I went to Heffernan Memorial today, but I got there too late, so I wasn't able to talk to them. They are providing showers for the homeless once a month. And so I was going to go over there because I know the city doesn't have money. So I was gonna say if they could work with you guys, because it's a health issue, to maybe be able to pay for these wash stations or pay for this washing of the streets and stuff. You have to work together. I can't do the job for you guys. You have to go out there and talk to them and say, you know what, we gotta come together. You have the money, we have the means, we have the people, we'll do it, just pay for something like that. But you guys have to act because it's already here. First it was, no, it's not here. It's here, and it's going to affect us. Thank you.
Mr. Rennerson, I see you. This might be an issue for the county and maybe the, visiting the health department, trying to get a heads up on.
Maribel got her shot there, right, Maribel? At the county? Yeah, the county's offering free shots. I was at lunch today with a couple of people, and I said, should I get one? And, there was people that were eating without washing their hands, and I thought, oh, so you're right. We got to be very cautious. I don't want to use this as a political forum, but it's important that you wash down those bus stop benches downtown. They've got Coke and French fries from 3 months ago and all of that good stuff. So if there used to be, when I was on the council, you had some steam cleaners, and I'm sure they're still there someplace. But maybe, I don't know, but maybe the county can assist you with the manpower to use those high pressure, what do you call them, Armando, high pressure washers? There's got to be 2 of them left. We bought them with redevelopment money. Remember the good old days when there was money? Yeah, and so we went downtown once a month. Even Erica probably remembers that. And we'd steam clean the sidewalks and all of that. It looked great. Well, if you could do the benches, I think, and the restrooms down there, that would be a long way towards heating this up. But yes, it might be a problem. I think hepatitis, I don't think the heat's over with. And I don't know if the cold has any effect. Do you know? Yeah. So, these hand washing stations are going to become very important everywhere. The dirtiest thing you can touch anytime, regardless of hepatitis, are doorknobs and the hand railings. That's where you're picking up bad colds. That's where you're picking up hepatitis. On the hand railings, and even right here, on the doors at City Hall, at the doors of McDonald's, at the doors of wherever. That's bathrooms are not where you're going to get it, because bathrooms are clean. Think about that. Some, but that guy that goes to the restroom, or that gal, and touches that knob without washing their hands, that's a problem. So we just have to be extra careful. We don't think there'll be an epidemic. I don't think so, but I don't want to say that we're totally prepared, but I think we are. We have an interim health director, as you know, but doing a great job. But they're on it, and they're doing the best they can. So any support the city needs, just let me know.
Thank you, John.
And we'll be there to respond.
Thank you for the update, Ms. Padilla. Thank you. Chief? Mr. Gomez, Chief Gomez?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Usually, information like this, I would have tried to get it on the agenda, but this happened really quickly. 3 topics I'd like to cover. A letter that I received from Congressman Juan Vargas A letter I received from the United States Department of Justice, Office of Community-Oriented Policing, and the community-oriented policing event that we have later on. I'm going to be commenting about the first two topics, and then I'm going to turn it over to Sergeant Legaspi. Okay, starting with the letter I received from Congressman Juan Vargas. He's establishing Mr. Tomas Oliva as field representative as his El Centro District Office law enforcement coordinator to liaise with local law enforcement agencies. And as a request, he's requested me to be his point of contact. And this is going to be a countywide or regional initiative that he is calling the District Law Enforcement Coordinator Initiative. I made contact with Mr. Oliva, and again today when we had our meeting with the Congressman, and I confirmed our commitment to participate with this initiative. And what it's going to be, it's intelligence sharing, technology, and training, and possible grants. So we're really looking forward to liaisoning with Mr. Juan Vargas in his initiative. The next topic I'd like to cover is the United States Department of Justice Office of Community-Oriented Policing, or the COPS Office. Since April of 2015, the Calexico Police Department and DOJ entered into a memorandum of participation with the Collaborative Reform Initiative. And when I took on the police department, that's actually when the initiative started, and getting to work in repairing the police department. So from November 30th of 2015 to, I'm going to say, about 2 weeks ago, we've cooperated with the United States Department of Justice. We've done everything that was asked of and more. And we have either met or surpassed what they were expecting out of us. Last Friday, however, I received a phone call from the United States Department of Justice, and they said that they weren't going to put out a final report. And I said, well, why not? We've been working at this for about over a year and a half, nearly 2 years. And without pointing fingers or admitting anything, he's saying it was because of the new administration in Washington, D.C. They felt it was inappropriate for the federal government to tell local agencies how to run their agencies or how to resolve their own problems. So the only thing I can say is take my word for it. We surpassed expectations that the Department of Justice COPS office had, considering that often they would tell us, oh, well, check with the sheriff's office for updates or check with El Centro PD. And when we did, they didn't have anything at all that we were working on and accomplished. And on the contrary, they're requesting copies of our work. So good luck on that. They followed up with a comment that DOJ was going to issue out a press release. And I thought, okay, well, this press release is going to be about Calexico PD. I said, no, it's not going to be about Calexico PD. It's going to be about, they're going to be discontinuing that service of sending agents over to help correct police departments. However, they will offer technical advice upon request, but I guess they're just going to shorten that style of program. I made a copy of it. I've got it's on the website. If you want to go to United States Department of Justice, it's there. It's very generic. And attached to that was a letter from U.S. Attorney General Sessions, and he is calling this movement a corrective action, enforcing his concept that the federal government shouldn't be coming to tell local agencies how to deal with their problems. So it's unusual. I thought it was strange. I felt kind of disappointed. I was hoping to get a report card with an A on it, but take my word for it, we did very well. I'm very happy with the team that we established. Later on, I'd like to present our team to you. We call it now the Calexico PD Leadership Team. I'm the chairman. It's comprised of 2 lieutenants, 2 sergeants, 2 officers, and my assistant. And it's been nothing but excellent. Free training. That's the way I took it. It was like free training every week. We've had conference calls. We'd have follow-up meetings with them. They'd come from D.C. and all over the country to meet with us here in Calexico, and they like our work. One police chief from the city of Gardena enjoyed this investigative manual that one of our sergeants did, enjoyed it so much he took it back to his lieutenant, and they kept it. So they're going to implement it in the city of Gardena. A chief from Arlington, Texas, the home of the Cowboys, He says it's the world's greatest football team. He liked our work also. We came up with an internal affairs or complaint program, citizen complaint program, that just details everything from, okay, you filed a complaint, this is what's going to happen. It also covers the officer. A complaint has been filed against you, this is what's going to happen. He liked it so much, he's keeping a copy of it. I can't think of anything else, and they like our community-oriented policing projects. They like our Shop with a Cop and Coffee with a Cop. And now that I'm getting to our police-oriented community projects, I'm going to turn this over to Sergeant Legaspi.
Thank you, Chief.
Good evening, council members, attorney, city manager, city attorney. Nationwide, the police department has put together a program called Coffee with a Cop. How many guys have heard of Coffee with a Cop? Basically, it's an event where it's a collaboration between the citizens of whatever city that they're promoting this and the police department. They're learning from each other on how to better communicate amongst each other. So this nationwide event has been going on for years. So only in Calexico, the leadership group has come together and coined another name. We're calling this one in Calexico called Raspado with a Cop.
Raspado.
So basically, we're going to have this on September the 25th between 4 and 8 p.m. at Raspado Cuchis here on Blair Avenue.
Oh, there isn't.
We have flyers back there for those of you that would love to attend. Mr. Hodge is always attending to all of our Coffee with the Cops, and I thank you for that. And I'm inviting the councilmen, the city manager, and city attorney to participate, to show up and talk to us. So it's this coming Monday at Raspados Cuchis from 4 to 8 p.m. I hope to see you all there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. No nachos, just raspados.
Raspado.
No nachos.
That's it.
There's more.
This is just our way of making only in Calexico something we can be proud of. Mr. Escobar?
See how it goes. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Officer Legaspi. Sergeant.
Feeling well.
Oh, we got some more.
You see? You're right. It was good. Your idea was good. Once a time.
That's all the comments we had for public comments. And we're going to go to the consent agenda. All those in favor, is there any comments for consent? Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pass.
Aye.
Aye. Aye, aye, aye.
We have item 13. Do we want to hear the comments first on the items?
Why don't we listen to staff's presentation?
Okay.
And then we'll open it up.
And then we'll
for
hear
comments.
the, okay. We have one individual that wants item 13, I believe.
Okay.
Okay. So authorize city manager to sign agreement for professional services between the city of Calexico and the whole group to prepare a water master plan.
Hold on. Nobody pulled anything on consent?
Nope,
Okay. All right.
we all voted for it? Passed?
Good evening, council and Mr.
You don't have to touch.
Thank you. I had to get it closer. I knew that was coming. Yeah, we went out to, we created an RFP to prepare a water master plan, and we presented that to all of our on-call as-needed engineering firms, which are all local. First of all, in the background, a sanitary survey that the state does, the Department of Water Resources, they prepared a sanitary survey of our water system. And
Shh. Get outside, guys.
and it was a requirement that we we do a water master plan. This is also in our capital improvement program, a water master plan and a wastewater master plan. We split up the water master plan and the wastewater master plan so that they can be done by separate firms, and created a proposal, request for proposal, send it to all 5 of our on-call firms.
Is there a reason why you separated versus doing together?
Yes,
is that a
because
state mandate?
No, we could have done it together, but this way I could have got this one done faster. It's a state requirement. We still need to do the wastewater and master plan, but that's a separate issue.
That one takes longer.
It takes longer, and it can be done by another firm, so we want to kind of spread out the work to all of our firms as much as possible. I know we have the same firm on 2 items tonight, but these were requests for proposals that were sent to all of our on-call firms.
Where are the RFPs and RFQs and everything sent? Is that the city not the city website, but, the city website, or are we doing?
We do when we go out to the public to do those, but on these on-call, which has already been approved by the council, we just contact them directly.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're all aware of what's going on. So we received 3 proposals, and in this case, the most qualified and the least expensive were one and the same. So we recommended that the whole group get approved for this one. I've seen their work in the past on this kind of work, and they do excellent work. So.
Very good.
Make a motion to approve item 13.
Is there a second?
Was there a comment? There was a comment on.
We have a comment. Yes, but we can vote on it in here.
No, we should,
We hear the
we
comment.
should take the comment before we actually.
We have
vote.
item number 13, we have Mr. Kim.
Good evening, council members and council publics. And first of all, I submitted an 11 to speak, and you guys, without hearing the public, to make all the decisions.
We're here now, Mr. Kim, to hear you.
So I'm gonna put, actually they're related, so I'm gonna put it together to have it. Probably I might gonna have a little extra time for that. Okay, first of all, we have a drain system, we have issues. Years, we have every summers, we have flooding the street and downtowns. And I believe this time has to be complete to be able to hold handling those one for the future floodings. Because especially Rockwood and the downtown areas, they're flooding. So I believe this one needs to be taken care of by this project. And also we have a master water plan. And last year, when I was talking with the city manager, Nick Finley, it was in order to, when we have master plan, we need to have, instead of try to fix the old water plan, try to build the new ones in the east side. So that increasing our capacity of the water, at the same time, we're ready for, in case, if we can have annexation to the east, we have a more close to from there. So we can have what's called building the new plan, might be cost a little more, but building the new plan, we can have a more capacity for the future growing. And also the old one, we can maintain it as in case if we have something happens, we can use the push-pull system, which is one system down, one system they can use it. So I like to recommend to the city to consider to master plan, including to build the new water plant in the east side. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kim.
Motion to approve item 13.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So move.
May I just add that we need to make sure that we stick to the items on the agenda as far as the comments, just to, that I don't know exactly this last comment, what it really had to do with
Mr.
item 13, but.
Yeah. Mr. Kim, we already did item 11. It was already accepted.
Do you still want to make your comment? Item
Okay.
11? Okay.
It's already passed. Item 14 is the authorized city manager to sign agreement for professional services between the city of Calexico and the whole group to provide engineering and inspection services for the Measure D Street Overlay Overlay Project,
Do we have-
2017, 2018. Is David?
Yeah, we have, as you heard, Mark Baza from ICTC here. He oversees the Measure D program. The city of Calexico has multiple $1 million left in the Measure D funding for street repairs. We've used a bunch of that money, as you see around town, of some of the overlay projects that we just completed. This is for the next phase of that overlay project, and it includes inspection services at the end of the project and also the engineering services to create the project. We'll get one of the engineering firm's employees to work out of our office for that project. And so this is, again, on-call. I'm trying to use our on-call firms as much as possible and spread out the work as much as possible. In this case, there were 2 proposals, and they both are qualified, but one was a little bit more cheaper, a little more cheap. And so we're recommending, again, the same firm, the whole group for this.
Make a motion to approve item 14.
Second.
Call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Measure D funding, thank you, David.
Thank you.
Item 15, deeming properties at 1233 and 1235 CN Perry. They are a nuisance. Anybody
Okay.
going?
We're
Ralph?
going to have a staff report, yeah.
Ralph? Mr. Morales?
Mayor, council members, code enforcement has many duties, and one of the duties that they carry out is that whenever there's nuisance, especially weeds and trash, then they go out and contact the property owners to do the cleaning and eliminate that nuisance. There are 2 particular properties right now that code enforcement have been working on since 2015, where they have tried to contact the owners to clean the properties of the trash and weed nuisance. And it's gone to the point where on 235, there is an abandoned house, and this house have gone to the point where it's been fire damaged. Code enforcement was called in by both police and fire department to go out there and do an inspection and tape off the property. One of the biggest problems that code enforcement has experienced is that not only the nuisance of weeds and trash, but also that there's both homeless and other individuals that are living on the property and creating havoc to the community and the neighbors. This has been something that's been very difficult for both, for the police department and code enforcement to remove them from the property, being that it is a private property. Code enforcement has not been able to contact the owners for a reason that they're absentee owners that live out of town, out of the county, and so they really don't respond. It got to the point where we requested the city attorney to assist in trying to get the property owner to come in and to clean the property, and also to either renovate or demolish the structure there. And this has been to no avail. So at this point, because the structure is dilapidated, is no longer substandard, then the structure would have to be torn down, because now it is a health and safety issue for the community, for anybody that would go inside. The municipal code allows the property to be deemed as a nuisance, as it was brought out right there in the municipal code, chapter 15, and also under the 1997 abatement of dangerous buildings. So, like I brought up before, numerous letters have been sent out, and there has been
contact?
no response.
No response?
There has been no
Owners?
response at all. So what we're requesting is that the council deem this property as a nuisance and provide staff direction to get assistance from the city attorney to be able to take the legal action necessary to be able to go in and find the finances to be able to clean the properties. I did get a rough estimate from a contractor, and if the city was to take it upon themselves to go out there and hire a contractor, then with a prevailing wage, you're looking at about $79,000 to do the cleaning and to remove the structures. The properties are very big, that it would take that amount of money to do it. The other option would be also if the city crew or city staff was to do it, but we kind of figured that would, time and material, the cost on that, and I kind of figured that maybe it would take about 5 working days to do the cleaning. There is another option, and that is to go through a receivership where an outside firm or attorney would go ahead and take the lead, and through the court system, they would take control of the property and do what needs to be done as far as the cleaning. The cost of that could be either through a form of putting a lien on the property, maybe a tax lien. I was talking to the city attorney today, and then the collection would be done whenever the property is sold.
Mr. Villa?
Well, I think in your packet, you have a whole bunch of pictures that
Pictures,
shows the reality of things, and I think whatever decision we make, we would, end up putting a lien on the property and try to recover those costs at a future date. So this
Make a
action
motion.
today, if you do take this action, would allow us to go through the
Motion to
legal proceedings
approve
to do
item 15.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Mayor, may I make a comment?
Yes.
Mr. Morales, the property directly directly west of Baja Duty Free is in a similar condition. Are we working on something similar to these CM Perry properties?
Yes, we had the same situation with that property. We weren't able to contact the owner. With the assistance of city attorney, they were able to contact the owner on that one. The good thing on that property, the owner did go in and they cleaned the property. It looks the last time I saw it, looked a lot better than the condition that it first was in. I did get a call or email from the city attorney, one of the assistants, and basically we're making contact with them so they can come in and secure the property, which would mean that they would cover all the window and door openings. They would go ahead and put a fence around the property to try to keep the undesirables or homeless away from the property. The other thing that we did as well is when we first talked to the property owner, when they went and cleaned, they came into the office, and there were some suggestions about doing some renovation and the type of usage that they could utilize that property, and the property owner is looking at different options. So we're hoping that they will come in, invest some money, and improve that property and use it for a commercial use.
Thank you, Mr. Morales. Item 16. Approval of memorandum of understanding by between the City of Calexico, County of Imperial, and the IID regarding maintenance and operation of the New River Improvement Project. Is anybody going to?
Yeah, we have city attorney.
Oh, yeah, I'll do the presentation. The MOU before you has been MOU, been working with the county, Imperial Irrigation District, as well as the State Water Board and the Regional Water Quality Board. It's a revised New River Improvement Project. This project has been worked on for several years now. However, in January of 2016, a revised New River Improvement Project was presented by the Regional Water Quality Board. The revised project, it's a three-component project. One, installs a trash screen at the border where the New River crosses in city of Calexico. Two, it would reroute the water at the point of entry into Calexico, reroute it beyond the residents of the city and a little beyond the All-American Canal. And the third component would then reroute water from the city's wastewater treatment plant back to the border, so that way the channel of the New River will continue to have water, but obviously this water has probably level 2 tertiary treatment, I suspect, so the quality of the water is very clean. That project currently has an estimated price tag of about $20 million. And before the State Water Board, working with the Regional Water Quality Board, before they issue an RFQ, which they have money for pursuant to SB 854 of $1.4 million, before they issue an RFP for the planning, design, and engineering for this project, they wanted to have an MOU between the three parties, us, the county, and IID. So that's what this idea accomplishes. It allows the state and the Regional Water Quality to proceed with that RFQ to go ahead and hire a firm to come in and do essentially all the planning documents and environmental documents to then be able to have documents ready to go out to bid. Under the MOU, the commitment, under the MOU, which is based on $20 million project, that estimated to cost about $150,000 to maintain and operate. Under the MOU, three parties have agreed to split that evenly amongst the three parties, so that would be $50,000 each per year. Obviously, once we have the final documents, we'll be able to finalize exactly what would be the cost of the project, and then what would be a better estimate of the O&M for the project. So currently, the MOU does provide for a $50,000 commitment annually, which can be revised. At the same time, too, I forgot to note that we do have a revised agreement before you. It just clarifies one of the provisions in the agreement that provides for a 90-day termination period. I don't know if council has any specific questions or if anybody else wants to add any information.
Mr. Villa.
Yeah, just to add, I believe the county, Mr. Renson just left, but the county took action on this item yesterday, and they ended up approving the MOU. So did the IID. So.
I'll make a motion.
Well, we have.
Is there questions?
We have two individuals that want to speak on the item.
All right, very good.
Let's see, Mr. Kim, item 16.
Again, I'm glad to finally we have gone to do the taking care of the New River project. And even the technician was saying is even the nearby the New River to air pollution, easy to break down the air conditioning. So even California market once in a while they have a big breakdown because to air pollution is making that happening. And I'm glad that they're taking care of for the health of the community. But my suggestion was they have so much costly to taking care of the pollution of the water. And they have a strip system they call the puglu, which is like, looks like igloo in like Eskimo house, the ice house. But they put bacteria inside. So they're using the bacteria to clean the waters. So a lot cost less and very functional. So if you guys to get the fund to put the molds at the puglu to clean the waters, they can be helping our pollution of the waters.
Thank you, Mr. Kim.
Let's take note to look for grants for igloos for the valley.
Mr. Horton.
In reference to this MOU, I support moving forward with the New River any way we can, but I have some questions in reference to the MOU for $50,000. The New River is not this city is not the only city that the New River runs through, but yet we're going to be paying 50, the county is going to be paying 50, and the IID is going to be paying 50. And if I remember right, isn't this an international waterway?
Wow.
And will the federal government come involved in that? I'm just a question, but yet I'm sure we got to go through with it. But yet, and this is something that came to mind. And then I heard a certain state representative said that, well, it runs through Calexico, make them pay for it. And the New River is we're not the only city that it runs through. And that's a thought that came into my mind in reference to $50,000. And it's something to think about for a discussion if you want to discuss it. Just have a discussion on it.
Yeah, well,
Thank you.
we'll never know when our neighbors are going to help and if the federal government's going to step in and assist us
I
in
know
this.
they haven't done it now.
Yeah,
They won't never do it, probably.
it's a big issue. Thank you.
Mr. Figueroa, did you want to say something?
Motion to approve item 16.
Any other questions? Is there a motion?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item 17.
I have an appointment for the bid by the name of Jesse Gallardo.
Oh, Jesse.
Gallardo,
Gallardo.
por favor.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay,
I
Gallardo.
thought we were speaking English.
Gallardo. Gallardo, first name?
Jesse.
Jesse Gallardo. Okay, and we have a speaker on this item too. Mr. Horton?
Mr. Horton.
After 9 months, I have to congratulate the city council. In January and February, I talked about this, and I did say, we'll see how long this lasts without moving forward. Now, Mr. Real, I commend you. You came through like a hero in that sense. But also, the other city councilmen, there is a certain point when nobody's appointed to a commission, the city council as a whole can act on it. But yet, I'm happy to see, even though it's not my commission, I'm happy to see that the bid is finally going to find movement forward. And then come November, you can ask for a reinstitution of the $100 per business.
A possible reinstitution.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Horton. Moving on to, we accepted Mr. Gallardo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, he's Mr. Jesus Gallardo for bid.
Gallardo.
Item 18, master plan. Master calendar of the city council meeting for fiscal year 2017 and 18. Mr. Villa.
Yes, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, we're a little bit late, but we want to put this in front of you so that you can start planning the year of meetings. And there's three important things that I want to note with you. The month of January, this coming January, this seems to be a meeting right after the holidays, and as you know, the week before that is festivities and holidays. So we were proposing that you consider moving the first meeting and the second meeting to the week after. So that would be the yeah, that would be moving the meeting from the 3rd to the 10th.
Okay.
And then moving the meeting from the 17th to the 24th. And we have sort of a similar problem in July of next year. where the 4th of July
4th of July.
falls on a meeting date, so we would
It's at the beginning.
want you to consider either moving the meeting a week or canceling that meeting altogether. So that's up for discussion. And then traditionally, on the month of August, because of vacations and back to school, what have you, we traditionally go dark, and we want you to consider that too. So that's pretty much it. You have any questions?
No, if the council's okay with that, I make a motion to approve. Other than, I have my yoga classes, those Wednesdays, but I can definitely.
Tai Chi?
I can definitely, switch them for sure.
So the recommendations of the city managers.
Make
for
a
those-
motion to approve.
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Well, second first, I second.
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we have item 19, surveillance camera system.
Yes, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, at the last meeting, I believe Councilmember Escobar requested an update. I believe we have Lieutenant Gerardo, Sergeant Gerardo or Lieutenant Gerardo? He's going to provide us a brief history of the
record show, he's the
program,
motor
and then a summary of it. Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, ladies. So we have been actually just completed our first official full year of having the surveillance camera system. The city council approved the purchase of the surveillance camera back June 2nd, 2015, for a price of over $700,000. The money that was going to be used out of that was going to be taken out of the general fund and asset forfeiture, according to the staff report at the time. We have made payments. Also, the following week, which was June 16, 2015, the city council approved the 5-year maintenance agreement for the cameras. Like in the report, I put down that we have total of 82 cameras. 73 actually are fixed cameras. 9 are going to be automated license plate readers. And presently, we're right now in negotiation with the Caltrans trying to get them to put the automatic license plate readers and some regular cameras so we can monitor Imperial Avenue, which is State Route 98, 111 and 98 for those intersections. The cameras that we do have up and running are actually monitoring every public or city of Calexico building. We have City Hall. We have some inside City Hall in their vault. We do have some around the parks, and we have the community center, water plant. Those are being monitored by a dispatcher. I remember when this came up to the council, Mr. Villa wasn't here, and I don't know if Mr. Campos was here at the time. What we wanted to do was we were going to try to have three dispatchers on at all times, so one of them can actually monitor the cameras. Unfortunately, I mean, we went through some financial hardships and we haven't been able to do that. But our dispatchers, being the team players that they are, have been monitoring cameras. And we had one major incident here at Rocco Plaza where a gentleman was stabbed and chased, and it was caught on camera. And we used that footage to prosecute. The 3 guys that were arrested and prosecuted, got. One of them, the minimum was 5 years state prison. The other one was 7, and the other one was 9. Our dispatchers have also caught 2 burglars downtown breaking into a business while it was happening, and they were able to send officers out there and actually guide the officers to where these guys were headed. So the camera system is a very good system. It's up and running. We did have an issue with one camera that when it rained back in the beginning of August, it went down, but it came back up the next day. Part of the maintenance agreement is that we call them out. They come down from San Diego, and they fix them. They do come down and do a quarterly maintenance of all the cameras, and they bring their truck, their bucket truck. They go clean all the cameras. They check all what they call the radio antennas on these, and they make sure that everything is working properly. They can also remote in, which they do all the time, remote in and run system checks to make sure that the cameras are working. Our dispatchers do have the number, and they have the authorization to call them when something happens. They don't have to wait If it breaks down on a Friday night, they don't have to wait till Monday morning when the chief, myself, or the other lieutenant are here to get these cameras fixed. Like I said, I mean, it's working well.
Do you know, by any chance, I know at Nosotros Park had some cameras that were never working. Do we have cameras there now?
Yes, we do. And the one that's in Nosotros Park, we had a problem was on the frequency and the radio, because the radio antenna was put too low at the time. That was with the old system. The new system, they're working. We can monitor a lot of cameras.
One of the things that I noticed with our camera system, especially at the parks, was that vandalism on them. They spray paint them, or because obviously whoever's ever doing bad things at the park doesn't want that. Is there any way that, I don't know if this is a chief question or city manager question too, maybe some signs at the parks as far as there being like a reward for catching someone that's vandalizing them or something like that. It's very, very important and very expensive piece of equipment that's definitely going to help the city in the long run, and we need to kind of protect it, and I've seen the vandalism specifically Nosotros Park, because it's out there, it's out of the way. I don't know how often it's patrolled, but they have been vandalized a lot, so just something to keep in mind.
I mean, and that's it. I mean, that's great. I mean, if we can get the funding for it, we can, and we'll put them up there. But the cameras are working.
They aren't, or they are?
They are.
Oh, they are. Okay.
And like I said, I mean, once we get the proper staff up there, we'll be able to even.
And on the LPR, the LPR equipment, I noticed some cars actually have them, right?
We have
some police cars have them.
We have one unit that has an automatic license plate reader, but it's already so old that it's running on our Windows XP, and that was bought through a grant. And if we were to upgrade it, it's probably be more cost efficient to buy a new system. We can use the cameras themselves, but the software, I mean, would have to.
I know there was a mention about LPR information being. Does any police officer have a way to get in there and do the LPR, like find information on the LPR? Because my understanding is, for some of it's like kind of it's. I mean, I don't know if you need a warrant to actually look in there, or how does that? I know that it's for obviously a stolen vehicle come up like in the Spillman, quickly, but can any cop go in there and say, hey, I want to know where this guy's been all day, type of thing?
Well, first of all, there's a lot of safeguards when it comes to the California Law Enforcement Telecommunication System, CLETS, and the whole department, we run it through what we call the website called Leo Web. It's called law enforcement, and it's web-based now. If you catch somebody, which in the past we have, and they're no longer with us, if they're running plates without a reason, just to see who the person is, without an official reason, it's a misdemeanor. And they do prosecute for that. Not only is it a misdemeanor, it's against policy, and if caught misuse of CLETS, and the police department knew about it and they didn't do anything about it, we can get fined. If we get fined more than once, they could take away the usage of that, us being able to go into their system. And a police department can't function without the CLETS. I mean, that's what we get all information from: driver license inquiries to stolen vehicle inquiries to putting in stolen vehicles, missing persons. I mean, we connect through the whole nation through that. Every 2 years, we have to take a CLETS user exam that it's also web-based and it's controlled through a secure website. And we just, we only need like 2 people in our department now, but everybody has recertified. So the state of California runs very tight audits on it. You know, we'll get surprised. They come in every year, or every other year, I'm sorry, and they pull out, they'll ask me to pull out certain plates that we ran and DL numbers, driver license numbers that we ran, and they'll say, okay, what you guys run this for? So I have to go and look for them and say, okay, this was a stolen vehicle case, so we did this. What'd you run a criminal history on this person? Well, we ran a criminal history because he was arrested, and we have to do that. And so, I mean, it's really, it's audited, it's controlled. We can't just run plates to run plates. So if you came to me and you said, hey, Lieutenant Harlow, you know what, can you do me a favor, can you run this plate for me? I'm gonna tell you no. And you're gonna say, this guy doesn't want to run a plate for me. No, we can't. It's against the law.
Yeah, I understand that. What about the license plate reader, though? It's taking plates.
The license plate reader is taking plates. It's in a public view. It's not, we're not going in there, to a private property and stuff like that. This is all stuff that's out in public. So it's reading plates, and.
Yeah, but can a police officer go in there and say, let me see how many times this plate ran through Highway 98 in a day, for example?
Well, a police officer is not going to be doing that.
Well, I'm just, okay.
And that's the thing. I mean, he's not going to be doing
on
that
a need
unless we have a crime.
Correct.
Unless we have something to investigate. At that point, it's an investigation, and we can do what we got to do.
So only investigators can go into that information?
Well, and the police officer that's investigating a crime can do it too.
Okay.
So I mean, it's with everything that the department has gone through. We have safeguards where we're not going to let people do, what they want to do, and just say, I'm going to run to see how many times my brother has gone over to this house if I'm not doing an investigation. It's not allowed.
No, the reason I'm
policy.
wondering, and I don't know if Carlo, our city attorney, there was a lot of question about LPR, license plate readers in public, kind of like if it was constitutional.
Yeah, I think there was questions of unreasonable search and seizures,
Correct.
and there were some other cases I think when they were.
I'm just wondering if from
GPS.
a city standpoint, as far as it being a possible litigation issue in the future, as we know, we don't need any more of those.
Yeah, generally when you're in the public, you're pretty much opening up yourself to any sort of people can see you, your license plate, and that's why that's allowed. But yeah, initially there were some challenges on that.
Yeah.
I think there was a case where somebody put some sort of like tracking device on a vehicle, and there was some litigation over that, whether that was an unreasonable search and seizure.
Yeah.
But,
All right,
yeah,
and
those issues
there
did come up
is
every once in a while.
Supreme Court decisions on the trackers and all that we as a department know, and we know what we have to do in order to put a tracker on somebody's car. I can't just go slap one on because I feel like it. We actually have to have probable cause, and it has to be signed off by a judge.
All right.
Attorney Gerardo, it also mentions that 20 cameras will be placed by Caltrans on their signal lights.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, yes, sir. I'm sorry to interrupt. It's 20 cameras, and if you look at it, every intersection, especially like 98 and 111, that one will probably take anywhere from 6 to 8 cameras on the light standard just on that one because of the direction that it faces. It depends. It might just take 4. So we have 2nd and Imperial, 5th and Imperial, 7th and Imperial, 9th and Imperial, or 8th and Imperial, 98, 111, colon, and 111. That alone just takes a lot of cameras. And that's the only cameras that are not installed right now is the ones we're working on with Caltrans, because we need to get an encroachment permit. And their whole thing is they want to make sure that the weights of the cameras, which is not much, is not going to create a safety hazard, and that it's going to bend their poles, or if it gets too windy, it's going to knock down their light standards, which is not. So as soon as we get the okay, those are going up.
Any drones? No drones yet?
Drones?
Yeah.
I think we're not at the drone stage.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
We'll let the U.S. government do that.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Mr. Escobar, since it was your item, do you have any? You're more than welcome to go tour. Go to the police department, and I invite all you guys. Just call us and tell us. You goes out there and look at the cameras. We have one camera that is not part of this right now. That is down one of our hallways at the station, and we're getting that fixed. We also have cameras inside the police department too, but that was not those. Those were existing cameras, but they record. Everything records too. So we can go back if something says something happened and the camera was pointed at the right. We can go back and retrieve all the video footage for that stuff.
What about the body cameras? Are you guys using them now?
Yes, we are, and it's probably one of the best decisions we've ever made. And we're getting some new ones because upgrade, like you said, software. As you know, software changes every 6 months. So as part of the deal, we got some new ones in.
I know there was a lot of talk about officers not turning them on and turning them off and that type of thing as well.
You know, if you talk to some of the officers, they really like their cameras. It's come to help them. They prove, they know. It's like, you get somebody with a complaint, first thing I do is, we know they had the camera on, so I'll pull the people and I'll say, you know what? I said, you want to complain? Fine. Do you mind watching footage with us? And they're like, look at me like, yeah, you know, you were being recorded. Well, you know what? I don't want to talk about it. Thank you very much. They walk away. So, I mean, I look at the camera anyways, and then I see that my officers were very professional and polite. And
Okay.
so, I mean, it's litigation-wise, it cuts down, nationwide, it's cut down on a lot of people.
Mr. Kim, item 19. Thank you.
If you need anything, just call us.
Actually, Mr. Gerardo was explaining, a lot of my questioning was solved. And but things, we have a limited camera. If they have some like an area to necessity to viewed by the camera, we might use it to remove it some other place to cover the city's especially criminally vulnerable place. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kim.
Make a motion?
I've got.
Or we have another one?
Well, no, let me see.
Just receive and file.
That was just information.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, future agenda items. Anybody have any?
Yes.
I have one
possible-
comment. If you're heading south on Andrade, Mr. Villa, there is a water leak. It's been there for a while, and I apologize for not letting you know sooner. It is literally, I'm going to say 100 feet going south on Andrade as you're heading, as you're crossing the All-American Canal. It's very visible at night. Usually runs somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 p.m. and it gushes anywhere from 2 to 4 feet. I'm not sure how long it's been there, but I know it's been there for several days. So if you could look into that.
I have a future agenda item and then a comment. I know that we actually, you know what? We didn't do council comments.
It's not on the agenda, I'm sorry,
Again.
but let's include it
Wow. We might want to put that on the agenda for next meeting.
for comments.
This is 2 times already. I think they're trying to censor us or
It's
something.
up on top. It's
Oh.
there.
It's in there.
We skipped it.
Oh, it's in there. We skipped it.
Oh, sorry.
So just real quick before, I think it's really important that we keep Mexico, DF in our prayers. It's really sad what's happening over there. It's sometimes I think sometimes when you're doing with building regulations and stuff in the U.S., you tend to be like, man, it's very hard to get things done, but it's for a reason. You see these places just falling down, with these earthquakes over there, and it's sad, but in a way, there's a reason why we do things the way we do things here. So much regulation, and I guess it's just a sad situation for Mexico and our neighboring country to the south. A comment as far as I got a few emails and dealing with 98 right now because of the closure, as far as possible having a police presence, and I know that there's been even dummy cars that the police have used. They're asking for some type of police assistance on Grant and Cesar Chavez right now, because that's being used a lot. And my understanding is that a lot of kids are walking through there as well, and it's just, I don't know, is that something that maybe you guys can look into? Is maybe even a dummy cop car there or something that might
I don't think we have one.
not a dummy cop car, please. A decoy that can be parked. A decoy, exactly.
A decoy.
Let me change the way that's said. A decoy. A decoy car that I know the chief had done that in Kennedy Gardens, and it really worked. I mean, I knew it was there, and sometimes I even slowed down, it kind of caught you off guard. But they work. Those decoys work. They really do. If that's something you guys can help us out with there, the people kind of have been saying that it's being very dangerous for everybody in the morning. And I know once 98 is open, that's going to calm down, but for now, some people have said that. And then we went on this League of California Cities trip to Sacramento, and it was very, 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 very good trip. I think one of the things that I know I have at least one colleague that is on board with. I really think it's time that we do something with our downtown.
Absolutely.
And help it out with that, bringing back that pilot program of the possible towns, a town center there in Rockwood or Rockwood Plaza, whatever we're going to call it. We don't necessarily have a name for it, but a pilot program to close that area down and make it a city center where the farmers market and some concerts, or maybe even, just an area where people can, when they walk into Calexico, they can gather and, have some benches, or, maybe possibly
grass.
looking at bringing some restaurants or whatever. I think we need to do something for downtown. So I'd like to bring that up, maybe for discussion, potential action for next.
Very good.
Mr. Hodge? I'm sorry. Did I cut
Oh,
you off?
no.
Do I have a second on that?
Yeah, you have a second,
All right,
strongly,
okay.
on my
All right.
part. And a third.
Not on the agenda, though.
No
Mr.
future
Hodge?
agenda. No future agenda items.
No.
Okay, anything for the good of the order?
Well, it was very informative, and the trip to Sacramento, a lot of networking. It's a good learning experience, so it's worthwhile. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Mr. Figueroa for setting up the appointments with our state assembly and state senators. We had very good attendance, and there's strength in numbers, or we're going to gang up on you and listen to us. And I want to thank the city manager for bringing up our issues and our concerns for the city of Calexico.
Babysitting us.
And our needs, and watching over us. And
Being a referee.
but thank you, Mr. Figueroa. Thank you, Mr. Villa and Mike.
We had a good discussion on Highway 98 and the expansion with Caltrans, so we appreciate that from our two speakers. I think it's important that we also get GSA maybe an update on the port of entry. So in the next few meetings, if we could maybe set something up, that would be awesome. That's it.
Call for the question. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Third.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.